Hello everyone, greetings. This video is going to discuss about repetitions. So in Python, we have a chapter, if you check out my class, on repetition structure. So basically, what is repetition structure? So in a nutshell, it's a quicker way of being able to get stuff done. So think about as an instance, for example, if you're out and about in your lawn outside and you're trying to accomplish some stuff. So for example, maybe cutting the grass would be a perfect example. Let's say that you have an acre of property and you normally use a push mower that probably takes you, 2 hours to cut the grass. Now, there obviously is a quicker way, which can be a more expensive way of purchasing a riding lawnmower, but you can accomplish that in a quicker amount of time. Or if you were picking weeds and instead of picking them by hand, you purchase a weed whacker to decrease the amount of time that you have to manually do the job. So repetition structures is similar. It's easier, and it costs nothing extra, but it allows you to do a looping structure in a sense. Allows you to loop through values. So I'm going to give you an example in this first exercise. So first thing that we need to do is, I need to create a new project. So I'm going to create a new project. I will call it repetition. Call it that. I'll just say current one is fine. So now we have this. That one's gone. All right. So we have this repetition structures. So the first thing I was thinking about is they kind of give you an example of something. Would be I'm trying to find an example here, something that's not in the book exercises. All right, so think of, let's see here. All right, so let's say that you do support for somebody. So when I started off in IT, I did technical support. That was my first job. So let's say that you do technical support for computer problems. You're kind of like the Geek Squad per se. So let's pretend that we need to come up with a way to calculate the number of requests that we get in a day, and we need to display this total information that we get. So normally what would happen is someone would call in, they would type something in the system, and then you would you might manually go through and say, okay, Bob Smith called in at 1:42 afternoon, and Mike Tomlin called in at 3 o'clock, and he also called in at 11 a.m. and he was having the same issue and couldn't get it resolved. There's a better way and a quicker way of doing things like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Python file, and we'll just call this Lesson1, maybe. And hit enter. All right, so here we go. I explained it before where that'll happen. See, when you do the Python file, I've noticed that sometimes it takes forever to recognize. Or if you did a file and typed it in manually, it's a lot quicker. See, it's sitting there thinking. So I'm going to purge this because I don't know what's happening. Yeah, delete it all. So let's do it this way. .py for Python. See, it's available immediately. I don't know why it does that, but it's just what I have. All right, so the first thing that we need to do in this case is we need to initialize variables for requests, and then we need to get total number of tech support requests. All right, so we'll type in something called request, and we'll initialize it, and we'll give it a value of 0. Okay, so we initialize it, we create it and assign it a value, and then we'll say total. So we'll do a total, and we'll initialize it and assign it 0 to start off with. So then I need to get the number of requests that we collected in each day. So now we have this right here. So now I do get the number of requests collected per day. And then I'll put it down here. We want to display the total number of requests collected. All right, so get the number of total requests. All right, so we'll start right here. And we'll do a for loop. So a for loop is when you start from one part and go to another part. So we'll say, in this case, we'll say for day in range. So we're given a range, and we'll say 10 days, 2 weeks. And so we're given a number of days, and we're saying for day, the day that we're using, in the range of 10 days. We want to get request. We want to grab request and say equals. And we want the user to enter a number. So we'll do an integer, and we'll do something called an input. And then we'll do something called, we'll give it some verbiage and say input the number of requests received today. Something like that. And it's important here to give it a space so we could add a number after that. Then we're going to say total plus equals request. So what it does is it adds on the number of requests. So it goes through a loop and keeps adding it and saying, oh, okay, equals 1. Oh, now it equals 2, and so forth. And it goes down the line. We could have went total equals request plus 1. So there's a couple different ways of doing it, but I just did it this way. It's a little bit easier. All right, so now we need to display what we're putting on the screen. So we're going to say print the total request received. And then we're going to do a comma, and then we're going to give it total. So let's run this. All right, so input the number of requests that you received today. I'll say we're 7. And how many else? So it's going to go through here 10 times for each day. So I'll say day number 2, we got 2, we got 3, we got 5, 4, 22, 17, 1, 2, 3. All right, so as you see here, what happens here in this case is you're inputting this. So in a real life situation, you know, you would input it into your database and it would save it, and then you would have a couple different ways of pulling the information. But in this case, we did a request and we said, hey, input the number received. And what it did is it saved that number and kept adding on to it. So the first thing it did, it said, oh, guess what? Total equals 7. Fine. Then it went through here again and says, all right, what's the next value? It says, oh, now we have 2. And it just kept adding those up and just calculating that number each time. So think if you have, if you're used to using Excel and you have a column that's 5, and then you do some type of equal sum, A1 equals B1 through B25. So every time, oops, I hit the button. Every time it adds something, it'll keep adding that number. So this is the first lesson on how to do this. This is one of many different structures that we'll do. This right here is the for loop. You always have a beginning and an end. So I could put 1 right here and run this again, and it'll only ask me one time. I'll say 5, boom, that's it. It has 5. So remember, whatever your range is, your beginning to your end. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.